Welcome, everybody, to day 2 of the Reach Summit. I'm John Steinert, the Chief Marketing Officer of TechTarget, and we're going to talk pretty deep today about engagement. Let's go to our cover slide, and I want to say a few things about that. Just some housekeeping first. We'd really love it if everybody attending could use the chat feature to put in any questions they have. We'll try to answer them as we go, and then we're going to look to leave a little time at the end to answer questions as well. With that, I want to welcome Sunny Dasgupta, who runs product marketing at Conversica. I'm so happy that we can present today with Sunny because of how well that solution can really help companies solve the challenge of engagement. One question to the whole audience before we go further is I chose the graphics for this, and they're a little bit ominous, but I personally love Halloween, and so I hope you guys think that they're interesting, that they resonate with you. If they don't, please tell me in the chat. Now let's move into the presentation. Right. All of us marketers have this problem, and it's been getting worse in the last 2 years, that affects our ROI. Everybody's trying to do the same thing to our target audiences, so there's incredible volume of noise. I'm sure you all are experiencing that. In virtually every industry category that I can think of, there are more and more products, so we're all facing increased competition. And my experience has been in marketing that we're always challenged for capacity. And I think the same could be true said of our colleagues in sales. And lastly, we don't have the benefit of professional sellers being able to meet face-to-face with their prospects and with their customers. And so outside of our companies, there's a huge number of things that are really hampering ROI, our ability to get ROI. Now, let's go to the next slide. Furthermore, inside of our company, and though we might not like to admit it, there are a host of things that we live with every day inside of marketing that kill ROI. They kill the investment we've made to find demand, to bring demand in, and we never end up converting that demand to something that sales can work with. In addition to the challenges marketing faces, there's challenges within the SDR or BDR or ISR organization. For various reasons, leads and accounts are abandoned. And so whatever investment has gone into engaging those is lost. And even if engagement is achieved and maintained by the SDRs, sometimes the outcome is that the SDR says the person is not ready, and rather than recycling, they abandon that as well. So there's two sides of the coin here. There's ROI challenges outside of our organization. There's ROI challenges inside our organization. We're going to go to pretty deep depth in that. But before we do, I'd like to turn it over to Sunny, and he's going to just look a little bit more granularly across the customer lifecycle with respect to this. Sunny.
Yeah, if we could go to the next slide, please. So, speaking of ROI killers, most companies have some parts of their customer lifecycle, from awareness to consideration or retention to advocacy, where they are currently underperforming. So what does this mean? Underperforming in your customer lifecycle will translate to major inefficiencies, high workforce cost, and ultimately what it boils down to is what you're talking about, John, missed revenue opportunities. So if we could go to the next slide. We see many companies struggling today to drive engagement at the top of the funnel to attract higher quality leads. Think about the different points at the top of the funnel that lead to go unengaged, unnoticed, untouched leads, and that results in poor performance or KPIs not being hit. For example, unengaged target audience on your website, visitors who don't get past your homepage because they can't easily find the information that they are looking for. Remarketing to inactive leads. There are signals, but now nurture is not enough to re-engage them. How are you remarketing to these leads today? Sending anything and everything to sales, but not happy with the results, right? Pre-qualification is really a key first step in validating your ICP and driving sales readiness. What percentage of your spend is on webinars and virtual events today, right? And how well are you driving attendance to this? I mean, we are in the middle of one. So how well are you following up on these things? So these are some of the challenges that we see marketing at the top of the funnel is facing. And then if we could go to the next slide. For sales team, they also have their share of pain points. You keep hearing from your marketing team that the inbound demand is underwater. That happens a lot. You have sales capacity or productivity issue. Are you restricted from hiring the workforce that you desire? Most companies do. So that's a challenge. Are you running an account-based selling strategy? Are you focused on named account prospecting and don't have the time to review your inbound MQLs or inbound MQAs? So just generally, these are some of the challenges that we see sales are dealing with. And if we could go to the next slide for customer success pain points. Hitting those churn rates and driving customer expansion is really hard. And this is compounded by the fact that most customer success teams are stretched thin, managing too many accounts with little time to really drive personalized customer engagement at scale. Are you able to send critical product notifications in a personalized manner to every customer? Are you able to run renewal programs across different product lines efficiently? Does your CSM team feel comfortable asking customers for feedback? Who is managing NPS, Net Promoter Score, at the organization? So if you can drive economies at scale, delivering quality customer success becomes practically impossible. And as a result, products go underutilized and true customer value goes untapped. So if you could go to the next slide. So it's important to kind of come back to the main point. Good customer engagement equals higher revenue. While we know customer engagement is really important, executing at scale consistently is really hard. So when you look at good customer engagement, it requires 4 pillars to consistently execute. Number 1 is persistence. Number 2 is promptness. Number 3 is personalization. And number 4 is performance, as you can see in the middle of the slide. Every year for the last 5-6 years, we have conducted a survey reaching out to over 1,000 accounts across multiple industries to see how well they respond to different activities that generate leads and the follow-up after that. To understand if they're consistently hitting the 4 pillars, these 4 pillars that we are talking about. And what we found is that there is plenty of rooms to improve. So let's take the first one, persistence, right? We see inconsistent execution. 65% of companies that we studied only reach out 0 to 2 times. We know from our research that it takes about 11 to 15 touches to drive engagement, especially during the time of pandemic. Promptness, we consistently see slow response times. 55% of companies took 5 hours or longer to reply back to the customer. 83% of customers today expect to engage with someone immediately after contacting a company. Personalization. We see lack of personalization at scale. 70% of the companies fail to personalize at scale in any capacity. Look, first name, company name, these are table stakes. This can be automated. Personalizing means consistently leveraging personalization across 5 different elements across every key message, every message that you sent out. Number one is subject line, right? Making sure that you're calling the lead by name. You're giving them relevant information in the body about the purpose of the call. It came from an actual persona, and at the end, some sort of call to action. And finally, we see from a performance perspective, consistent poor performance. Only 12% of companies' outreach consistently landed in the primary inbox. So improved data plus message quality, that would make sure result in better deliverability and better engagement. So why do we have this? Because when customer engagement is mostly human powered, inconsistencies are bound to happen. It takes time, effort, and very close monitoring. But that's not going to be possible when there are hundreds or thousands of prospects and customers that you are having to manage. So if we could go to the next slide.
Yeah, so Sunny, you drilled pretty far into that, and that's what the format is today. We'll go deep and then we'll come back out. This is just coming back out and thinking to, well, there's these market problems that are killing your ROI, and then there's these systemic problems inside your company that are killing ROI. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what TechTarget tries to do to help you with the market problems. So fundamentally, we're in the purchase intent space, and we provide much richer sources of demand. So if you think about that competitive and noisy environment I was talking about, we're going to help you see demand within all that fog. Beyond that, we allow you direct access to exactly the people who are researching topics that are relevant to the solutions you sell. And that's both an outbound motion and an inbound motion. And we can tell you what those people are interested in the moment. And that enables you to convert more of them. And lastly, we have a way of verifying when there are actual deals in process. And we're going to talk to that today. And so we can alert you to that so you make sure to spend more energy. Now, Sunny, you guys really have 3 big bullets that you help with, moving out to a higher level of abstraction from the drill down you just did. Could you reiterate those?
Yeah, I mean, so look, knowing your customer is really, really important. But imagine you have all that customer insight, but you didn't do anything with that insight. I say that insight without action is delusion. When you have that rich insight, what if you could automatically engage your prospect in a personalized 2-way conversation? What if you could do it for all your accounts and prospects? With Conversica AI assistants, you actually can do that. If you didn't know, Conversica is a leader in conversational AI. Our AI assistant acts as a digital team member that augment or work alongside your human business professionals. So as these prospects reply back to you, your assistants can understand the response and either promptly reply back to the prospect with an appropriate response, or if it determines that the prospect is ready for a meeting with the BDR team, then set up a meeting with the right people, right? It will automatically qualify all your leads to build healthier pipeline. And in the later part of the presentation, I'll walk through some examples to kind of show you how it works in action.
Yeah, so TechTarget's going to show you the people and what they care about. And Conversica is going to augment your ability to do something with that. So let's go to the next one. Right, now I'm not going to drain this slide. It's really the orange Halloween color text that I really want to focus on. But this is another look at the problems you have inside your company. And it's really based on having either the wrong process or not enough people that are getting in the way here to do the things that you really want to do. So the first really is the idea that nurtures or anything in your email streams really fail to develop MQLs or opportunities. So you have a lot of leads, you have engagement, but your process forces you to score them up before you can pass them along. And if they never score up, you're never going to pass them. Big leak in your funnel, big ROI killer. The second is in the SDR space, where the SDR is incentivized to disqualify things. And so even if there is real demand in the account, somehow it gets disqualified. So that's a false negative. There's real demand, but for some reason the SDR process disqualifies it. And I'm calling that, sort of rolling it up to the idea of it was the wrong person. I wasn't able to reach them, or I reached them and they said I'm the wrong person or something like that. So the whole account is disqualified. Big problem, big drain on ROI. And then the last one is where you've got really great signals that there's an opportunity there. And I'm going to show you this when we go through the scenario. But even still, we can't get our sales colleagues to surround that opportunity and make sure that you can make it into an opportunity for your company. Huge problem, big ROI killer. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so now I'm going to set the scene, and we're going to do 5 scenarios. And it starts this way with intent monitoring for a client against their specific total addressable market. This client is an expert in cloud, in hybrid cloud infrastructure, and in data protection. And so we turn on the monitoring machine, the intent platform. Ours is called Priority Engine, and it can tell us that in this target market, there have been, over the last 90 days, more than 15,000 active accounts, in the more than 34,000 active people doing research, looking for solutions to business problems, and more than 2.5 million activities in the last 90 days. The rest of the information here is information about the types of accounts, the types of titles, the profiles of the people, their specific topical interests, and even the vendors who they might be showing interest in. So competitive information. Let's go to the next one. So that's the setup. And now what the platform will return in most cases is a ranking of the accounts. And what I'm showing here is the specific segment for this client that is their ABM list. That I'm showing that at letter A. And the point that I want to raise here is that every marketer is challenged by the problem of speed, because companies come in market and they leave market. In fact, about 1/3 of all companies will change. Even if your sales cycle is really long, about 1/3 of the companies that are active in one 90-day period will no longer be active. And so I want to emphasize it's critically important that your outreach is speedy. So what you're going to get from the return here is you're going to get a ranking based on the intensity of demand signals within your ABM list. And if you click into any account here, you're going to get, as you see at point B, you're going to see the people, and those are the people you're going to reach out to. But let's go to the next slide. And now I'm showing a movie here of how a particular account, in this case, Mutual of Omaha, over a 6-month period moves in terms of the intensity of their demand signals. So what you can see is sometimes you don't see any signals. They come into market, the intensity grows, and they go out of market. So this is about a 6-month period, just to show you how these buyers' journeys really work. So this is the reason you have to go after them when you see them come in. And so you need a way to do that. Let's go to the next slide. Now here, what we're looking at is the topics that the accounts are interested in. And so we're looking at the topics that are resonating on the TechTarget network with this target audience. And what we see is that the topics that are most interesting to the target audience also change. And so you can think about this means you've got to do speedy outreach, and to personalize, you have to know what somebody is interested in the moment. Next slide, please. Okay, right. Now we're going to our scenarios where I'm going to drill into what the challenge is, and then Sunny is going to tell us what the solution is. So here what we're doing is we're using the intent monitoring platform, Priority Engine, to look at the Cigna account on behalf of this client who's doing cloud and hybrid cloud infrastructure. On the left at point A, we're monitoring the website for the client. And as you all know, it's very hard to de-anonymize. So what we do is we take what we see on the website and we match it to the traffic from the Cigna account that we see on our network. So at B, what you're seeing is what are the interests of the people from the Cigna account that we see on our network. Then we're putting those together, and we go to the next slide. And here we can now uncover the people at Cigna who are interested in the things that this client sells right now. So we're going to show the buying team at a target account, Cigna in this case, 33 people who are doing research on the solution area that our client cares about. So now I can show you the people, but I need help reaching out. And I turn it over to Sonia.
Yeah. So if you look at this slide, you would see that, I don't know if you can see this, but the third person from the top is the information security manager at Cigna. And her name starts with B, and we'll just assume that her name is Betty. So you know that Betty is an important member of the buying team at Cigna. We also know the type of things that Betty was looking at, right? So what's the next thing we need to do? We need to reach out to Betty and engage with her. Now, you can do it manually for each one of the prospects on the buying team and create an individual, customized message for each one of them. And then what if you don't get a response to the first message you send? Because that happens. How many times should you try before you give up, right? So depending upon the number of accounts you have, it may not be scalable. This approach may not be scalable. Or you could use conversational AI to deliver personalized outreach at scale. So let's see how does that work in real life. So if we could go to the next slide. So in this case, everything that you are looking at the upper left box, with the avatar and the blue background, is coming from a Conversica AI assistant. And to the bottom right, with the gray background, you have the prospect, in this case, Betty's son, replying back with an email. So the AI assistant is named John Clay. And again, you have the freedom to name this AI assistant as you please. Customers, do that depending upon the buyer personas and who they are catering to, the customers, their prospects and customers they're catering to. So in this case, John Clay, John already knows that Betty's position at Cigna, and what Betty was searching for on the tech target site. John says that as the information security manager at Cigna, I'm sure it's absolutely critical for you to understand how AWS compares with Azure in storage price and features. How does John know this? Because it got the data from the tech target intent platform and is using that data as a variable in this conversation. So I just wanted to highlight the level of personalization that an AI assistant can deliver today. But it doesn't stop here. It's also offering something of value to Betty, and that is very specific to what she was looking for. It says, I wanted to share with you this on-demand webinar, and the link is provided there, where you can learn more about how today's companies are making intelligent strategic investments in the cloud to meet specific outcomes. And then it's going into a call to action by asking Betty if she would be interested in getting on a call to learn more. So this is something that your sales team currently is struggling to do with every customer consistently. It's not only doing it for one prospect, but for every prospect on every account. based on their individualized buying requirements. And in this case, we see that Betty replied back immediately. But in real life, sometimes it takes multiple touches before you hear back from a customer. And every time an AI assistant will reach out, it's not repeating the same message, same thing, but offering new information. The messages are being switched up, they're offering new information or something of value to the customer. If we could go to the next slide, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk before I go to the next scenario. I just wanted to talk to the question of why we started with a web scenario. We started with a web scenario because oftentimes there are no leads coming from the web. So what I was doing was de-anonymizing the visit of the account, and there still aren't leads. They're just people who are interested in this topic. And so nobody in most marketing organizations, and certainly not in most sales organizations, is going to pursue those. So huge ROI leak because they've come to your website and nobody's going back out to them, except if you do it with Priority Engine, with Conversica or similar systems. So let's look at a second scenario. And I get the feeling we're going to have to move through the scenarios faster. Here is a scenario about better pursuit of one of these accounts in a slightly different way. What we're looking at here is an actual reps account list. So we're looking only at the accounts in a rep territory. And so it's very few accounts. Now we have ranked those accounts, and what we usually see is that reps are going to go after only the top accounts. So now we're looking at a lower ranking account, Motorola Solutions at the letter B, and we're exposing the buying team within that account. And you can see that there are lots of people there. So we can see lots of people, but we know from how we're tracking that actually there are technically no leads. That means the people are active, they're doing research on the right solution, and yet they have not converted to leads. So the rep's not going to go after them. The SDR is not going to go after them. Sonny, what are we going to do with this situation?
Yeah, so if we could go to the next slide, please. So in this case, the AI assistant Rachel Scott is reaching out to this contact Kelly, who is a member of the buying team. But since Kelly is not a lead, as John said, we need to make sure we pre-qualify Kelly, to become a lead before handing it over to the SDR team. So first is introducing the AI assistant Rachel Scott is introducing herself, and then it's establishing credibility by saying that I see that many people at Motorola have viewed our content before. The next thing it's doing is sharing a little bit about your company, the National Enterprises, and how what you would offer would be of help to Motorola. And finally, the last paragraph is dedicated to pre-qualification. Can you share with me a bit about your workload performance and data privacy requirements at Motorola? This would make sure that your SDR team is looking at higher quality leads before passing them on to sales. To do this manually every time with every new lead is practically impossible. Even if you could do it, why should you? I mean, that's not the best way you want to use your SDR or BDR team. And guess what? Kelly replied back with critical information, which confirmed that they are actually in the market for a solution. Now the AI assistant could further qualify by asking a second qualifying question in response, or hand over this lead, to the SDR team to proceed with that. So I mean, that's how we see customers are using it, John.
Yeah, so this is for the rep, right? We're looking at the rep's territory. The rep is not going after, even though there are lots of demand signals, since there are no leads, the rep is deprioritizing. We have to fill in for the rep here. And so Conversica is going to take what we know about Motorola, what we know about these individuals, and follow up for us. Let's go to the next scenario. All right. this is getting a little bit more complex. Let me try to make it clear. What we've got here is we're looking at the current account list of a rep, but we're looking at accounts that are definitely not going to get attention. We're looking way down the list to the 3 stars. That's kind of interesting because it's in the rep's territory, but they're low-ranking accounts. So the rep is definitely not going to go after Intercontinental Exchange. And yet, inside of Intercontinental Exchange, we can see that there's a member of a buying team who is very active. One member, at least, who is very active and active on specifically hybrid clouds. So we got a low-ranking account in terms of intensity. It's not going to get sales attention, but we've got a high-ranking person inside of it. Sonny, this feels like the perfect opportunity to chase that individual.
Exactly. So if we could go to the next slide. So in this case, as John said, it's a low-ranking account but high-ranking person. We have a data analytics manager of technology from Intercontinental Exchange named, just calling him Saul here. What would be the best way to engage with Saul, right? In this case, the AI assistant, Jenny Randolph, is engaging Saul by recognizing his technology leadership at Intercontinental Exchange. And then Jenny is using the insights about the prospect that he is a manager of data analytics, and he is interested in how AI and ML is changing the future of predictive modeling in the cloud to engage with Saul, right? This is the type of personalization that humans struggle to deliver consistently. And next, what it's doing, it's offering a case study about the specific topic of interest, about predictive modeling using AI and ML in the cloud. And then Jenny is asking politely to set up a meeting with Saul to continue the conversation. And in this case, what we see, Saul replied back to discuss about the logistics of the meeting. And the next thing that would happen is Jenny would set up a meeting with the right person in the organization. So this is how, again, customers are using conversational AI to when there's a low-ranking account with a high-ranking person.
Yeah, so that's perfect. Let's not miss the high-ranking people in low-ranking accounts. Let's fill in for our sales reps where they don't have the bandwidth to cover the people that should be covered. Okay, next slide. Scenario 4, even more complex. Again, now we're looking at an SDR list, and we know that SDRs have large numbers of accounts that they have to cover. And so they tend to focus on individual people. So we're looking at the top prospect in letter A here, the top prospect list that an SDR might view, or it might be exported into their sales execution platform. But what you can see is this SDR has more than 500 prospects. And so we're looking at a lower, a non-5-star ranked one. And what the SDR is going to go do over on letter C is, because there are too many prospects for them to follow up on, they're actually going to filter out a lot of the prospects. And they're going to focus in letter D on the highest titled prospects. Sales enablement or sales ops really does this in the back end for the SDR, but we're going to filter out most of the prospects. And when we're talking about the low-ranking accounts, they're not even going to get to the rest of the prospects. So what we've got is a situation where the SDR is filtering out all but the top prospects based on a high-level functional role, and we're going to miss any prospects who are not C-level. So what are we going to do with the rest of the active prospects, Sonny, that somebody needs to be reaching out to engage with?
Yeah, this is a very common situation, John. The SDR team has too many people on the list, and there is no way for them to talk to everybody. So they have to filter it somehow, and in that process, many good leads could potentially fall through the cracks. But we also know that not all leads are created equally. your SDR team could be could spend hours chasing leads which are never going to convert into an opportunity. So really, it's all about efficiency. So how can Conversica help scale your SDR team in qualifying all your inbound leads so that the SDRs can focus their efforts on the highly qualified leads which are ready to convert into an opportunity? So in this example, if we go to the next slide, in this example, we see Tracy Jones is our AI assistant. She is proactively reaching out to the leads that are actively researching hybrid cloud solutions. She's engaging with the customer by highlighting the intent data, which I see, which is by saying that I see that you have been actively researching this topic in hybrid cloud. Next, she is talking about how this company, National Enterprises, helps businesses of all sizes with cloud services to become nimble and efficiently scale. And then she's asking to set up a call to better understand and discuss this topic. So the first thing she does is engages with you by using the intent data. Then she tells you a little bit about her company and how this company can help. And then she politely asks for a meeting. So very straightforward 1, 2, 3 approach. And in response, as you can see, the lead replies back with some possible time slots when they could meet. And this way you can make sure that you're not leaving a single lead behind. Back to you, John.
All right, last scenario on the next slide. All right, this is the last scenario, and I put it last because it's the one maybe that bothers me most. We do a service for our clients where we identify in Priority Engine, the intent monitoring platform, where we identify active buyers' journeys. And then we go out and on behalf of our clients, we engage these accounts and we ask a lot of questions about what is going on there to confirm whether or not there is a project and what are the key elements of the solution that the client thinks that they need, or that the target prospect thinks that they need. And so we can produce a report on this, and this report can be published into the platform so that we know there is a deal happening there. But what often happens is this deal report goes to an SDR, and the SDR fails to engage. And when that happens, this highly qualified lead doing research around topic. And so now we have 34 chances to get on the project that we know is going to happen. Project for our company, for the client. So, Sonny, if you had clear verification of a deal in process and you knew 34 people, would you disqualify it with one person, or what else could we do?
Yeah, so if we could go to the next slide, please. So we know that this is a low-ranking account, but a confirmed project. And in this case, I mean, really, time is of the essence. We need to reach out to the right people fast and really make an impression. So what's happening here? Jenny Randolph, our AI assistant, has reached out to Krista, the Director of Application and Software Development at Aon, and specifically talking about the topics that she has searched for, which is cloud elasticity and scalability. And then she is offering a thought leadership paper that is specifically written on this topic of reducing operational cost with hybrid cloud solution. And again, the call to action is to get on a call with her and discuss, move the deal forward. But at the same time, Jenny is also reaching out to Sean, who is the Director of IT, End User Services, and Sean is interested in application and system performance. And in this case, Jenny is offering a case study done with another company in the same industry as Aon. So again, both of these conversations are highly personalized and using the insight that the Tech Target Intent platform provides. and we're and we're send the right time at the communications are being sent to the right time to the right person in the right organization. By the way, these are every conversation that you saw today, they're all real conversations. I made minor modifications to comply with the data privacy requirements, but these conversations are real, they're available today, and this is how we see customers are using conversational AI to follow up on every lead, leaving no leads behind. So
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. So that I'm going to net it out now, and we'll open it for a few minutes to questions. Let me net it out on the next slide, please. So what I'm telling you is about the difference between reaching out to active audiences versus cold audiences, and how important it is to reach out effectively to active audiences once you obtain the intent data. When we do that, we know that you'll create more conversations, you'll get more meetings, the people you're meeting with will show up more, you'll create more opportunities, and you'll get more closed won deals. This is simply by combining intent data with effective outreach. Next slide.
Yeah, in the interest of time, I'm just gonna say that you have seen how conversational AI solutions like Conversica can automate customer engagement in a way that's very personalized and effective than your traditional outreach tools, and it's way more scalable than humans. You saw persistence. We talked about promptness, how promptly it can reach out to within minutes of the lead or the triggering event hitting your CRM or marketing automation platform. Conversica will initiate engagement. We can personalize. You saw the level of personalization we provide on those 5 things that we talked about. And performance, Conversica AI assistant don't cherry pick. What you point it to, it works on. It will work until the job is done. So I think that's pretty much it. I know we have a little time left, and I would love to answer questions the audience may have.
Yeah, so let's go to the key takeaways and open it to questions. Here's a question that we should answer, Sunny. How does Conversica help? Can you reiterate this? How does it help with my content problem?
Yeah. So let's define content. There are 2 types of content. Content, like as we talked about, thought leadership paper, case study. You need to build that based on the intent data that you are getting from the TechTarget platform. You know what your customers are looking for, so you have a good understanding of what the customers are looking for, what they're interested in, who your buyers are, what your buyer persona is, what are their pain points. You know that, so you can create the content based on that. In terms of the reach out strategy, that's where Conversica can help. These emails are already pre-built out of the box. The content is already there, and then there are variables. By the way, these emails are created, they're proven, tried, tested. Many companies are using it today, and they're getting tremendous ROI by using this. And yet you have the opportunity to customize based on your specific buyer, your solution, your call to action, and that level of variability is available. So on one hand, the conversations are very, very successful with the subject line, and everything is there for you. On the other hand, we are providing the flexibility for you to make modifications as you see fit.
Yeah, just to add to that. So Sunny did say, look, if you don't have good content assets to send, you've got a problem. On the other hand, because you're going to use intent data to build in Conversica these automated emails, those emails are way easier to build than building assets. So at a minimum, what I think is going on here is you have the chance to respond with email. So even if you don't have an asset, you can offer a meeting with one of your experts on a topic that you know is relevant to the audience. So I think the power of email alone is something to really focus on. It is this reaching out to people who you know are showing signals of being in market, where we're really losing a lot of ROI because we're not doing it.
Yeah, and I see there's another question. Do you support other languages other than English. Yes, we actually support 6 languages. We beyond English, we support German, French, Portuguese, Japanese, and I believe Italian. But yeah, we support altogether 6 languages.
And we provide intent data actually all over the world. So we've got it in Asia Pacific, we got it across EMEA, and we're fully compliant with GDPR.
Yeah.
So I think that that's about all we have time for. Thank you all for joining. You will get the slides if you've registered, and we'd love to hear from you, Sunny and I, over LinkedIn or through any method you prefer. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks everybody. And John, it was a pleasure doing this with you.